All right, welcome. Thank you all for being here today. Well, first off, my name is Jessica Hester. I've been being called lately the grandmother in this space. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this, but we are coming together to really talk with you from our perspective through our team line, our lineage, which is called the frequency shift, of which I am grandmother. And we wanted to share with you our kind of the depth of our insights and our experiences and what feels really important and potent on our hearts after having just spent the last week with the founders and the pioneers of this beautiful frequency technology called Healy. So if you are newish to this space and don't know Healy well yet, we're not going to be diving deep into exactly what it is and how it works, although some of what's been pulled through this experience will talk about the technology. But as far as like basics for the Healy, what it is, what it does, what we use it for, we do have once a month calls, Healy info calls that you're welcome to tune into by just connecting with whoever invited you here to get more information on that. We'll have one coming up next week, and we have a lot of resources we can send you if you want to learn more about it. But specifically, the intention for this is to share, these the kind of in the moment transmission that we're arriving back home with after this event. So Healy is a incredible, cutting edge, revolutionary quantum frequency technology. It was created by a man named Marcus Schmecke, who we all got to, well, those of us who are sharing got to be with this last week, to train with this last week. He is a pretty incredible person, one of the most brilliant minds in the world right now. He was a Vedic monk for 12 years. He is also a quantum physicist, and he has created this beautiful technology that helps interface between us and the quantum information field. In this way, it works to support, I like to say, the whole human: physical, mental, emotional, energetic. And also part of this Healy experience is the opportunity for community and business. And the other level of support that comes in with that is actually financial. The gift of Healy is multi-layered, and the beautiful way that the inventors and the founders have shown up in like a deep relationship with the business. So it wasn't just creation of it and then launch it out into the world and hands off, but developing an ongoing relationship with it allows our relationship with the business and the community and the device to have this really potent and deep foundation. So that's been kind of the joy that we've been in the last week. And I have quite a few team members that are going to come on and share just what's feeling really inspired for them right now after this experience. So we got to be with Marcus Schmecke, again, the founder of and inventor of the Healy technology. We also got to be with Carolyn McMakin, who is pioneer of microcurrent treatment. She's based in the US, and she didn't create microcurrent treatment. She found it, actually. She has a beautiful book called The Resonance Effect. If you're interested in this, I definitely recommend reading that, where she talks about how she found it. But she's the one that really launched it into applied practice. And she is having amazing results with it. So we got to do trainings with her. Christian Halper, who is the financial backer of Healy, so the financial partner in this business. But again, not just a money man, not just put in the investment and then hands off. He's deeply connected to Healy, the vision, and its creation and its ongoing fulfillment of this beautiful vision and mission that it has. And also Nuno Nina, who was integral in developing the Healy. We have what are called gold frequencies in the Healy, which were created by Nuno Nina. He's been a frequency practitioner, a medical frequency practitioner for decades. So he was also foundational in bringing this to us. So yeah, I guess I'll just start with a little bit of my own share, and then I really want to pass it to everyone else to give their hearts. Um, I came into the Healy space 2 years ago. Healy arrived in my life at a point where I had three really big prayers on my heart, and was just these prayers were really just distilling in my system at the time. And they were a prayer for my physical healing, a prayer for my healing of my relationship with money, and a prayer for knowing how to show up and serve humanity well. This was, right at the beginning of the pandemic. Things were changing very quickly, and I was very aware that the ways I had been showing up to serve, for one, no longer felt good to me, and also were not really meeting like the call that we have now. I think, the last few years have really shown people that humanity needs a big shift, and it needs to happen pretty quickly, in order for us to, I believe, continue as a species. So those were the three prayers that I had. I never would have guessed that it would be this that arrived as an answer to all three prayers. But that's been my experience these last 2 years. And I was really blessed to go to this same event and training with these founders last year. Last year was, earlier in my Healy journey, and we weren't such a big collective yet. I had 3 people with me. This year I didn't count, but we had many with us. And so last year, I was really blessed to receive a lot of what I think people are going to share with you today, which is the deep impact of being in physical space so that you can directly receive the transmission, not via someone else's experience, but in your own embodied experience of really what is here. The Healy vision and the Healy mission is deep, and it is big. When it arrived in my life, one of the first things I intuitively understood about it was that it was an evolutionary tool, that it is here as a bridge tool to help humanity across this evolutionary precipice we are on by reconnecting us with our true nature, which is our creative power, which is our ability to master frequency, which is our quantum nature. Healy's vision, Healy's mission in all aspects of it, and when we ground all aspects of what we're doing here into the deepest vision and mission, that's what allows us to really thrive and flourish. That vision and mission is to uplift the collective consciousness of humanity. Marcus, that created it, he has, we won't go fully in, or I won't go fully at least into his story, but it's pretty fascinating. His passion is the intersection of science and spirituality, being deeply drawn to both of them and seeing what so many of us intuitively feel as, their intersection, that they're saying the same things, especially when we look at quantum science, saying the same things as, what we intuitively know, what the mystics and the sages and the saints and we have experienced. So he, in his brilliant mind, is in the, applied practice of kind of teasing all of that out so that it can be widely understood that these are the same things. And his trainings were fabulous because that's what they get into. So all of the training that we had, when it was on the science, when it was on the business, was actually, a spiritual training. There's no separation in it, which I think is what, for me was so potent. And I think, as we'll hear from other people, is part of what feels so special about being here. Definitely why I feel very grateful to be here. So he has a consciousness research institute where they study this intersection of science and spirituality. So yeah, my biggest kind of what landed for me the deepest at this particular event, since I got to go last year, was being able to witness and be present for and be part of so many other people from within this team and from within this community getting to land in that space and watching them kind of encounter the the depth of what we're doing here, and watching that sort of filter through their systems, and the way that you know, I could see and hear in my, communication and feedback, the way that it was really shifting the relationship to what, they were already a yes to in this space, but just those deep roots, that deep foundation growing. So my greatest joy was really being able to witness and be part of that happening for other people. Because my passion and my excitement about being here is because I truly believe in many ways what we are doing will change humanity. I believe that with all my heart and soul, and I couldn't be so devoted and give so much to this space if that wasn't what I believed, if that wasn't why. So with that, I'm gonna pass it to some of our other beautiful team members to just share what feels really alive and inspired for them right now. So, Zofia, would you like to share?
Yes, I was kind of sending you telepathic messages and like pick me, because I feel like I can I could like segue so beautifully from that, just from what you said about your best takeaway from it was witnessing others, and you were actually standing with me when I first met Marcus, and I actually wanted to share about that experience with everyone because it was completely unexpected. And I mean, obviously we know he has a brilliant mind, and he is brilliant in so many different ways. But I approached him, and he connects with you very intimately through your eyes. And it was like looking into eternity. The presence in his eyes was completely unexpected, to the point that, I mean, I'm like an emotionally private person. I just like started crying, and my heart completely broke open. Like, I can connect with that feeling right now. It was so beautiful, and it was such a soul connection. And we stood there for it felt like a couple of minutes. It probably wasn't that long. I think I was kind of like cringing at the same time, but I just couldn't, like, the tears were just flowing. And he kind of like touched my shoulder. But in that moment, it really landed for me, like, who this man is and why he's here, and why he created this incredible device. And his mission is so pure, and he really is here for this, for raising the frequency of the planet, and making a positive impact, and supporting with this recognition that there are other humans in this world with the same mission, and this is his way of supporting others to help make a positive impact in the world, like a shift in humanity. That, like, there's so many of us here who really know in our heart that we're here to create change and the awakening of humanity. So that was really beautiful. And I think that many others had a similar experience meeting him, and we've all come back and we're like, we just feel different. It's really, it was like being in the presence. I've had this similar experience with some of my spiritual teachers, and it really felt like we were in the presence of an ascended master who is so humble. He definitely did not keep himself separate from everyone. He was like with everyone the whole time. He wasn't just like making appearances. There was numerous occasions to connect with him. So that was so transformative. And then there was also Christian's presence, and he actually his presentation was a real crystallization of why I'm here, committed to the business. And I actually took some pictures of his presentation because they were so powerful, and really created a feeling of safety and stability being a part of this company. So I'm going to just show you some of these snapshots and just talk briefly over them. So let's see where we can start. So first of all, this is a perfect example of how expansive the founders are within the company, because they're giving us they're talking about here the larger environment that we live in, which is like the solar system. And he started his presentation with this, which is about the new cycle. I'm not an astrologer, so I know there's some other people here more experienced to talk about it, but he was basically showing us how we're moving from the Industrial Revolution into the information age and idealistic values. And the next 200 years are going to be driven by new technology, new information. So I just, this isn't, I'm just going to move this down here. I can see what I'm doing. So here we go. Can everyone see this properly? I just want to make sure you can. So this was just his interpretation of this new cycle and how Healy is just in total alignment with this. And then he gave us a chart here of the sales for like direct sale businesses and how it has grown in the last 2 decades. It's a massive industry, and that despite the stock market crashes that we've had since 2000, the industry has actually continued to grow and was not affected by these crashes. So that felt really good, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now, and the precariousness of the stock markets around the world. So that was really great to see that. And then he pointed out that Healy is active in the 2 biggest sales product categories, which is personal care and wellness. So the positioning of where this product falls is incredible. And then not only are they is it in the biggest categories, but it's completely unique. We know this is like cutting edge technology. So it's not just, this is not just, we're all very holistic here. Well, most of us are. We take our natural supplements, and not to say that, it's in a complete, it's a unicorn product. So it's completely in its own category as well. And then he gave us a background on information technology and the expansion. So, everyone can see for themselves here where we've come from. And then when Time Waiver was introduced just before Bitcoin, and then where we're going. And this says a little bit more, which is, he was so much more articulate than I can be, but you can just see that, here, let me move this over, that there is a whole new category in this information age that we're entering into, and that is the information field technology category. I don't like where we're working within is completely new for people. So it's in a space all on its own. And then here you can see, I'm just going to read what he wrote, but he said that the informational field technology is a perfect complement to the currently used causal ITs. And then lastly, the Healy product is, well, I'm saying is, he says maybe a unicorn product, which I feel like we all know is. So that was really like really grounded me in this business and what we have here, and that we really are on this precipice of massive changes and impact and income and massive abundance in every area. So it was really reassuring, and I'm so happy to be able to bring back that reassurance and share it with everyone, and that this opportunity is really once in a lifetime. And I am just so grateful that we got to be in all of their presence, and for all of us to be together, and everyone should come next year.
Oh, thank you. We are so lucky. It really does feel like an opportunity of a lifetime in so many ways. And yes, everyone come next year. Okay, Melissa, are you there? Do we have time for you? Oh,
There we go. Hi, can y'all hear me?
yes.
Okay, beautiful. Hi, everyone. My name's Melissa. Zofia, that was awesome. A beautiful recap. I actually went to the bathroom after Christian's talk and just cried because it was just so much energy moving through. So that was a beautiful recap. So I will keep this short and sweet so everyone has an opportunity to share. I am one of the few that came down to Florida from Canada. I made it happen, and I really feel like I was meant to be there. In truth, it was intimidating for me to be down there. I didn't know anybody. Well, I mean, aside from knowing you online and seeing you online, and have any team or anything like that, but it was an absolutely beautiful experience. And I said yes to Healy about 9 months ago. I thought it was 6, but it's 9, and it's so timing as I am going through this birth, rebirth. And hearing Marcus Schmieke 9 months ago was the reason why I said yes to Healy. I heard him speak on some video, on some call, and was like, this is beyond me. This is so beyond me. All the chit chatter in my head of resistances, I was like, okay, this is something greater. So he was the reason why I did say yes to Healy. And so coming to this event felt like, okay, I had to be here. I wanted to share what's alive for me and true for me. So I am in the 88-day quantum leap experience, and I've never done an MLM before. So I definitely appreciate the business training and all of that. And I'm taking what resonates, leaving behind what doesn't. And obviously the 88 days is very business forward, which I think is really beautiful. And it's been a lot of that each week. And through my own experience, I felt like I was starting to, through the business forward, lose touch with my actual initial spark and why. So I was starting to feel a little bit of wobbly energy. I was losing sight of like why I originally said yes. So when I was down in Florida and I got to experience Marcus Schmieke and Christian Helper and those core people, that was just anchoring me down deeper into the roots of that vision and has released any of that wobble. And it brought me right back to my heart to be like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? Lead from that space, and everything else is going to land as it's meant to. I mean, there is, of course, action and all of that, but like, divine, inspired, aligned action. And I'm someone that, loves the quantum realm, and I study yoga. So this was like the perfect bridge. And the purity that comes through Marcus, which Sophia and Jess have spoken to, that was everything. It has absolutely released any subtle thought of caring what other people think of me, because I'm so anchored into what the vision is, and now having to be in close proximity with them, it feels really pure. And I just wanted to share one last thing. Like, I'm somebody that does question a lot of things, and I was one of those people that was online sharing my perspective in 2020 of what I think, see, and feel. So I was, I had a little bit of subtle skepticism, truthfully, and this totally cleaned that. I wanted to make sure that what I'm standing behind and giving my all to is pure. So that was what anchored for me. And then the last thing I'll share is, something that Dr. Carolyn McMakin shared at the end of her talk just like really hit, and I wanted to share that with you. She's like, if you're not here serving the collective, if you're not here in service to humanity, then what are you even doing here? Like that was like just so clarifying. So if I could leave anything for you, which is ultimately left for me as my takeaway, is to, like, if you're ever feeling any wobbly energy or you're unsure or there's a lot of noise and distractions, just come right back to your heart, come right back to the vision, and come right back to your why, because that will inform your next step moment by moment. So that's what I feel called to share. I feel so honored to have the opportunity to share here and to be weaving with all of you like this. So I feel complete. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Yeah, that when Carolyn said that too, if you're not here to change the world, what are you even doing here? And not only is that like such a good clarification of where our energy is, but but a very clear, direct, distinct clarification of what Healy is. It is why we're here. I think we've all been called here, through our own personal kind of paths and voices into this space as participants and co-creators of what really, not just in here. My big thing with Healy is like, we talk a lot about changing the world, and it's often a lot of talk and it's theory, and it's a lot in the mental realm. And what gets to happen here is actually embodied action, that this service actually has a way to move from the mental realm and thought and theory and want to living, breathing action that is changing people's lives, that is changing the world. So yes, to, anchoring everything we're doing down into the deepest roots possible, for so many reasons, Thank you for that share, Melissa. Okay. How about Simone? Are you here? I'd love to have you share.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. I feel so much similar to like Sophia when she was like, I was sending you the spidey senses, like calling me next. Because what you said is what I really want to share. And what's really on my heart right now, and it might be super cringy for some people to talk about or to kind of go in this direction, but what's on my heart and what I've seen from people that I've spoken with in my experience in life is this idea of a spiritual leader, right? And I want to talk about spiritual leader wound that maybe some of us have experienced in other spaces, and how I feel so different in this space, because I had the experience of like an 18-month process where I was in a container in a community with a spiritual leader who wasn't talking or walk, like you were saying, Jessica. And I think that's so important to talk about here, because I think a lot of us, especially if we've been healers or in this holistic world for a while, we've been in different spaces possibly that is just theory only. And what I found here and what really landed for me at the conference is that not only do the founders and the creators of Healy walk the talk, but every single person involved also walks the talk. And I was feeling this the first day, but what really landed for me was at the dinner. So we walked into the dinner, there was assigned seating, and I didn't know anybody at my table. And so there was just random seating. And really what landed for me was like, wow, like they are showing us that we are one, that it doesn't matter what country we came from. If I'm sitting next to somebody who's from the Mexico team or from the Canadian team, it doesn't matter. And so that was like symbolic for me. I feel like they purposefully, intentionally did that. And it just was like, I don't know, like it just freed me from any box, right? Of like, oh, this is my lineage, or this is like, my country. And it just really landed for me that, this is how we're showing up in this space. And this is why we're here to shatter those boxes and to really walk as one. So, when you were sharing too, it was just about like, yeah, I see this visual of like us all walking, holding hands in the same direction. And the diversity of that, whether it's male, female, the color of our skin, whatever that is, that it doesn't matter in this space, because at the root of all of this, that we are energy beings, right? So we are spiritual beings more than anything else. And so seeing that replicated at the dinner, seeing that in these different talks, and as the speakers were going through it, just like really hit my heart on a level that I have never experienced before. And so that wound that a lot of people might be like coming into the space and like hesitant to fall into the surrender of what we're doing here, I think it's really important that we rewrite that story for ourselves, because I could have been like, nope, my last experience was horrible. This woman was saying that she was this and this and wanting to up-level humanity, but then, behind closed door was doing something different. And so I could have let that fear, that doubt really govern how I was going to step into this. And I decided to trust. And so really coming to Orlando, this is like month 3 of me being in Healy. And so it was perfectly timed for me to have this experience right at the beginning and to be rooted and grounded in what I saw and what I was feeling intuitively. And so, yeah, my yes was really to play around with this tool that I had no idea about. I didn't really know anything about biophysics or the quantum field in its entirety, like what I now understand from the experience in Orlando. And so my offering here to you guys today is that if you have that resistance, or if you have that hesitation because of like the leadership, or even just being a part of a lineage, like those wounds that we might have experienced in our life previously, I think this is an opportunity really to just rewrite that story for yourself, and then rewire your nervous system to that, right? Because you're healing that wound and you're rewiring your entire nervous system to have this sisterhood, or I know there's men in the space too, but to have this community and it not be something that's leaving you scarred. I think that's like really what I wanted to land. There's more shares coming through, but I think that's really powerful. And I want everybody to understand that you have the control and you have the power to rewrite that narrative for yourself. So if that's part of your story, trust, just really trust. So I feel complete. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I think for me that was, I definitely have that spiritual teacher wound / history, which has made me skeptical, but also discerning. Like I've learned to be really discerning because of it, which I value. And that was one of the reasons it was so important and so impactful for me to go there in person the first time, because I was a yes to this on a lot of levels. And there was a piece that was still like needing to know for myself and make sure, like Melissa said, that what I was showing up, with so much for was in deep alignment for me. And, there's, you can get that and receive that. And especially if you're receiving it, through sources that you trust, that's really valuable, but it doesn't even compare to like just going and being in it. So that's the gift of getting to show up for this yourself. And feel it for yourself and encounter it for yourself. And I love your share on, what's possible here with the community. Humans are like such funny creatures, and yet we really do have this opportunity here to, like you said, rewrite our nervous systems. It's one of the most powerful things that, I've come to see after 2 years in this space, is the way that working in community here and the way that we're doing it in particular is rewriting nervous systems, is healing, this sort of wounded nervous system response and reaction to life that many of us carry. And that's like, I think we're just at the verge of that, like the start of that. That's really potent. So thank you for sharing. That's a really beautiful, really beautiful offering. Thank you. Okay, Victoria.
Great. Okay. Hi, Healy family. This is my first time actually speaking on a larger call. So it kind of feels like my coming out party. So thank you so much for being here and having me. So I've had my Healy for 5 months, but I have been working with tuning forks in the biofield for the last 12 years, and also holding group sound bath journeys, meditations, and ceremonies at the same time. So that's where I come from. And so I want to actually open with this quote from my beloved teacher. Doc Steve actually mentioned her work and her books at the presentation. And then pop them into the chat later. So we have been conditioned to think of ourselves as chemical and mechanical beings, but we are also extremely electrical. Most people think of the nervous system when they think of electricity in the body, but it has been determined that collagen, the connective tissue that is present everywhere in our bodies, is also a conductor. Our blood carries a charge, our bones conduct electricity, and our heart is an electrically driven oscillator, and that our brain waves are electrical frequencies. So we are first and foremost light and electricity, you know? And so for me, as a line one in human design, I love that the Healy world is also very much the human design world. So as a line one in human design, I am the investigator. I am the seeker of truth. As I'm fully endorsing Healy to my community, I needed for myself to be in the field, in the biofield, the information field of the founders. And so that's why I went down. And also, you know, my Gemini son really wanted to like hang out and be with my Healy family. So integrity is coherence. We talk a lot about coherence in this space. And what I've really come to learn is that coherence and integrity is thinking, saying, and acting all in the same way. And I can say now, you know, without a doubt that Healy is in integrity. There's the shared vision at the core that we're all here in service to life, the vital principle. Some people would call that source. It's that organizing intelligence that synchronizes the flight of birds, the turning of the seasons, right? That's what we're here for. Every creation story from the Bible, in the beginning there was the word, to the Vedas, in which Marcus spent over a decade in contemplation with. The Bija mantras, these are the seed syllables of all of creation. So our ancient ancestors knew that sound and frequency was foremost. And, you know, riffing a little bit on what Jenna said yesterday and what Sophia said today, that, you know, being in Marcus's presence is an attunement itself, right? So in the world of physics, we call that entrainment. It's a cosmic law that whatever is in a more coherent frequency, and I'm not really going to use like higher and lower, it's just a matter of coherence. So whatever that is in a more coherent state will bring lower frequencies or that which is not as coherent to its vibrational pattern. That is a cosmic law. And so that's actually how homeopathy and how flower essences work, really, by introducing a more coherent energetic pattern into water matrix that is your body and your mind, really. And while we are 60 to 70% water by weight, we're actually like 99.999995% water molecularly. And you know, Marcus just really set my soul ablaze. He closed out his talk with the fact that Healy is actually working on our water bodies and the information that's stored in the water of our bodies. And as I've been going deeper into Healy, I find it to be this very fractal holographic tool in and of itself. So as I've been kind of going deeper and unlocking more in it, especially with the coaching app, I'm now understanding that it's my own personal tuning fork. So when I'm working on with a tuning fork and I'm moving forks through their field, I'm, you know, hearing, listening for stagnant pockets of energy, and I'm able to like move that energy through the field because our feelings are magnetic. But I'm not able to do that on myself. I'm not able to like listen to that feedback and really. So what I'm understanding, because our subconscious is actually the standing field around our body, which is our biofield. And so it just dawned on me in the last couple of months that that is what the Healy is doing. It's allowing me to tune my own field, to access my own consciousness, to look at my own self-limiting beliefs and blocks without having to go through like a practitioner. And so by working on our own field and our own quantum terrain, and because we live in this holographic universe where the entirety of the whole is contained in the one, by working on our biofield, we both then have access to the quantum field, the 0 point field, and we also bring more coherence to the morphic field, right? That's Rupert Sheldrake's work. And then at the end, Marcus busted out a keyboard and played a song and sang to us. Like, he did not have to do that, like, it was so tender and so beautiful. And he did that so that we could feel his heart, because he is such this brain, but he really wanted to show us his heart. And, the heart's field is actually 60 times stronger than the field of the brain. And its magnetic component is about 5,000 times stronger. And I don't remember which presentation this was in, but I scribbled this in my notes that, what is it? The frequency of love is Healy. And I personally truly believe that as humans, we are conduits and we bridge heaven and earth. Again, going back to that micro, macro, holographic universe. And I feel the same way about Healy. It's like a bridge. And my personal soul mission is to bring more harmony and coherence to this often very chaotic and dissonant world. And Healy really grounds like everything I've been practicing, everything I've been studying, like everything I've been experimenting with into like 3D reality. And it does, it bridges science and spirituality. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to share, but that's kind of like the core of what I wanted to share. And to close out my share, I'd like to read this quote from this Indigenous writer, Sherry Mitchell. So, as Indigenous people, we're taught to live our lives in a balanced rhythm with the harmonic frequencies that surround us. This is why our teachings rise out of an oral tradition. Our history has been passed orally, not because we lack the ability to translate our words into written form, but because we have always realized our words have an alchemy that is capable of creating form. Our language is the vibrational expression that gives form to the animate universe. Every vocal expression that is released creates its own unique resonance. As we speak, we are weaving layers of sound that merge into harmony with the entire creation. This harmonic symphony brings into form the reality that we see before us. So we have always known this, and that saying, be the change you want to see. I say, be the sound that you want to hear. And, may my words be true and may my words be medicine. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Victoria, this was so beautiful. Wow. Yeah. So rich. Thank you for that, and full chills on that ending quote. Here for this remembrance for humanity of the beautiful creative beings that we are. Yeah, thank you. That was potent. All right. I would love, Jennifer, if you can share.
Hi, I'm so glad you just called on me, because so much of this weekend was so joyful and had to do with Victoria, meeting Victoria in person. And just like, there's 3 words for this weekend was love, revolutionary, and pure. Those are the 3 takeaways for me. And for me, it was about my heart, but the heart. This company is so heart-centered. And Jess had been telling me all of us, how special this company was, and how, especially when she went last year, she could really drop in to the purity of it. And I really felt it. I felt it from every single presenter, from Sophia was talking about her experience with Marcus. When I met Marcus, and I was telling someone this morning, it did feel like a spiritual experience. But what I felt was that when I said thank you to him, it's like he was looking so deep inside of my soul that he said, I wrote down, it's like, it's not me, it's us. And that's what I really felt from Christian, from Carolyn, from Christian's wife, Sham Nam, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Marcus, that it really felt like when you're talking about like, here it says, raising the consciousness of humanity, bringing us into a deeper connection with ourselves and the whole. I really felt that, like, I don't know who'd shared that they were all with us. It wasn't like they came on stage and like did their thing and then walked away. And Victoria just was sharing about how Marcus shared his song and that he didn't have to do that. So I'm a musician. So I was particularly touched by, here he is talking about quantum physics in a way that actually I could understand, which I'm not really a science person, but I was following him. And he breaks it down in such a beautiful way. And then when he sat down at the piano, he sang a song called Temple of the Heart. And I felt like, he was singing to the divine in Sanskrit. So you really through that, you can really feel someone's soul, like Victoria said. I was so moved and so touched. And I really felt the power of music too, that to express somebody's soul. There was no ego. It is so clear that all of them are here to help raise the consciousness of humanity and to really take us into like a whole other place of humanity. I walked away feeling hope for humanity, actually. And Christian said something. He said, you're doing this for your children and for yourselves. If you believe in reincarnation, you are going to make this place a much better place, And I was like, that is so beautiful. And then Christian's wife, also so beautiful. She was talking about the frequencies, and she also ended her presentation with getting everybody up and to the prayer, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, may all beings be happy and free. It was just the love was the thread throughout the whole weekend. And I just listening to everyone talk, I think for me personally, it brought me into my heart space deeper than I've been. Like I was always a full body yes to Healy, but my heart is in it in a way that I'm still processing it. I was so moved when I got on the call. Like I had tears because I feel so honored to be in this community with all of you and also to be part of this revolution. It really feels like a love revolution. So I'll end on that.
Yes, the love revolution. Here for it also. Thank you. I know you were so moved by your experience there. And it's really, I feel really blessed to this time have been, just not just recipient of it myself, but to have been witness to and receiver of you all being so moved by this. That makes my heart very happy. Okay. Jen Bates this time.
Hi, thank you so much. Okay, this weekend, this time was unbelievably, it's really hard to bring into words. And I will say, this is the second time that I've attended because I have a lot of skepticism and I have a lot of discernment. And the first time I went, I had only had my Healy for about 2 weeks, and everything has been like rapid fire for me. Like I won't go into the depth of it, but like I've had these intuitive experiences, these multidimensional experiences, all these things have been coming online for me rapid fire since 2020. And even though I've had these experiences all my life, it was like finally my cognition to start to understand what this was. So then Healy comes into my life and I'm like, okay, well, I need to make sure that the founders and like this is really a legit thing. So I'm going to go to Orlando. So I go and I meet everyone and I'm assured in that moment through all of the speakers that yes, this is legit. This is really happening. and sharing it and processing. It's helping my dad with his chronic back pain. It's helping some of my friends like remove huge blocks. It's helping me like beyond measure so many things. And then the opportunity comes to go back to the conference. And I'm like, yes, I'm going. I want to learn more. I want to be in that energetic transmission again, and I'm going to make it happen. And so I was able to go. So the one experience that was really profound for me was Shinem Halper. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Christian's wife. And she, I think Jennifer just mentioned it so beautifully, but she had us raise our hands in the shape of a rune and divination and protection, and encouraged us to turn and spin like a Sufi. Now, you know, I'm in Atlanta. I'm like a very practical suburban person. And I'm like, even though I'm opening up to all these things really quickly, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I'm doing it. And I'm feeling the vibe of these 300 people in the room and the heart-centeredness and the chant of the mantra. And I'm just like, I'm in tears. Like, I'm just completely overwhelmed. And then I'm hugging people I don't know. And we're like embracing, like we've been long lost friends. I mean, it was so unbelievable to me. And I'm in a conference room in a hotel in Orlando. Like it was the merging in that moment of what this business opportunity and what this device, this tool that looks like it's a toy from Epcot Center, you know, that what it's really offering us and the potential of that and the magnitude of it. And afterwards, I just want to mention this British man spoke. He said, she talked about the importance of hugs, that you need, I wrote it down, 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day to grow. And this dear man, who's probably in his, 60s, gray hair, he says, I'm British, and so I think I have a hug deficit. And when I was 6.5 years old, I was sent away to boarding school, and I wasn't hugged for many years. And of course, we all just like start hugging him and showering him with love. And it's just this amazing, incredible moment of, who has been leading this world and who is now stepping in to lead. And it is with this tool and with this community that the game is being changed so profoundly. And I am just so grateful and humbled to be a part of this journey with all of you. And I thank you so, so much for allowing me to speak. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen. I got chills in that last bit too. Who has been leading and who is stepping in now to lead? Really beautiful. Thank you for your share. Amanda, are you here?
Yes. Oh man, these are all so good. I feel like my Open Crown Center in Human Design is like, I want to share about that. I want to share more about that. I want to share more about that. Like there were so many good moments. Everybody was hugging that man all weekend. It was so beautiful. I think he said like 10 years he didn't get a hug. I was like, damn. I'm still combobulating. I just got back late last night after going to the beach with Jen Pascal for a couple of days after this thing. So I feel like there's like the combobulation happening from just like my Vata energy traveling, and the combobulation happening from just like being in that container and feeling like my cells are changing from just being a part of all of that amazing energy. But the two things that I'm feeling the most, they talked a lot about causal versus acausal, and Healy is a tool of synchronicity. And because of that, it creates so much synchronicity. Victoria was my roommate. We did not know each other before going to this conference together. I was like, I don't know, maybe I want to stay by myself, like I don't know this person. But we actually ended up in a breakout room of 500 people at the very beginning of 88 days. We are both grieving a loss like that happened within a week of each other, and we ended up rooming together. My lineage feels so synchronistic. Jen Pascal and I like connected, and then we went on a beach vacation together, having not known each other before this. The people that I sat next to at the gala were like exactly what I needed. Like I've been craving so much of the like frequency education and the tools of the actual thing that we're promoting. And they were that. They are using it for amazing like disharmonies. I'm trying to think of how to say it. Disharmonies in the body, and like bringing harmony and balance for different people, and educating on frequency and educating on how to use the tool. It was just so much synchronicity, and it's such a tool for that. Like this group is so synchronistic, and that's what we want. And they talked about it. Both Christian and his wife talked about how the experiences in life that we're most grateful for are the opportunities that come synchronistically, not through some planning, but through synchronicity. So I wanted to talk about that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with Jupiter moving into Taurus is just like, I felt like it grounded me and into embodiment, into presence. Like this is such a time when we can really tap into resourcing, but through like building it foundationally, through like self-reliance, through sovereignty. And I feel like this is such a tool for that, such a tool for deconditioning and alignment, which has been like what feels most important to me in the world. Like everything is an extension of that. How can we clear the noise? How can we clear the dissonance? How can we clear the static and the interference and come into deeper alignment with our truth, with our authenticity, with our uniqueness, with our sovereignty, with our individuation that is a part of, we're still like all connected, but we're like in our soul's essence. And it feels like such a tool for that, such like the capacity to bring us to like our fullest expression of our deepest, most profound, most soulful truth. It's just like taking layers off and taking layers off. So that's what it felt like for me. And I mean, for the whole time I've been in here, I've been like, what is it? Like, what is the frequency? Like, what is the thing that it's doing? It's not sound. Marcus called it a physical noise generator. It's a physical noise generator that's working on the waters and the fascia of our body, which is crystalline water. So it's just clearing out all of those patterns. And it felt like I don't have to work so hard. I don't have to force everything. I can just like break down the barriers to like the magnetism, like break down the interference to the magnetism, because we can all just attract all the things that we want. And this helps us clear that and get into the acausal space of synchronicity. It was such a beautiful experience. I connected to so many people, so many beautiful souls in our lineage and not in our lineage. So if you're thinking about going next year, I highly, highly recommend. And thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit about my experience.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. Yes, to like stepping into that, you know, full self soul expression, which I think is what changes humanity, is each one of us individually coming back to that. I really believe that the evolutionary impulse of life is to be, attempting to move us and direct us each individually to that full expression, because it is that particular frequency that will be generated by our full expression that furthers humanity's evolution. And yes, Healy is a tool that, amplifies, accelerates, supports that by interfacing between us and that, what I call the blueprint. So many good bits in your share. Thank you very much. Jessica, would you like to share next? I'll get you.
My baby keeps coming in and out. So, and that's one of the beautiful things about Healy, and it kind of leads into what I want to say, but there he is. But I just, for me, who was it? Jen was talking about the man and the hugs. And I just sat there and cried. Like I couldn't move. We went into lunch right after that. And it was just so profound. And so like, I couldn't stop crying because we're doing so much good work with this device and with this tool. And so I just had to say that. Thank you, Jen, for bringing that up. And for me, I could say so many things. But my first take on the conference was I arrived late because that's my style. And I was walking down these Star Wars kind of like setting. It felt like a giant, I don't know why. It was huge. This place was massive. And I looked over and there was a man with like white blonde hair. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is Christian Helper. And I went up to him and I introduced myself. It was just the two of us just hanging out in this giant hallway. And I went up and I introduced myself and I just thanked him. Sorry, that's really loud. Why don't you just take that? Sorry. I just thanked him. I said, thank you for everything you're doing for the world, for the planet, for my family. You're changing my life. Like you've helped change my life. You have given me one of the most valuable forms. I mean, just sovereignty. Like I've never felt so sovereign in my life. And I've also never felt like I've had, such an incredible community around me. Anyways, I started crying and I asked if I could give him a hug and he was like, yes, of course, gave him a hug and he walked off. He was like, how do I find reception? So I showed him how to get to the receptionist. But for me, and I agree with everything that's being said here. But it was really about feeling validated. Like I have been a lone wolf for so long. I have exhausted myself. I, always thought that everything that I created in the world had to be directly through me or I was faking it or I was an imposter. And so when I went to this, they just made me feel so validated and they made me feel so loved and supported and believed in. And, in the way that I've done things, because I've never been part of an MLM before, ever. And I've always cringed at them and I've always, probably in the wrong way judged them. But for me, it was about being seen and it was about being witnessed by not only my team members or my lineage or whatever, but by other people and by this beautiful corporation that is, really wants you to find your most honest and unique path on the planet. And that was just so special. That was to be recognized. And especially to be, I have a lot of my own insecurities, which have healed so much from using the Healy. Like, I don't know who I am right now. It's like the truest version of myself I've ever been. And it's so beautiful. And it's just amazing to see what has shed in my life and what is coming forth. And then to be like, I do my own thing. Like I would go away and like take my moments for myself and to feel like that the community around me was accepting of that. And a lot of them were doing the same thing. And the last thing I'll say is, I think I made an effort to hug every single person there that spoke. Nuno Nina, Marcus Schmike, Christian Helper, his wife. I hugged all of them. And when I did it, I could feel the power and the honesty and the authenticity of the mastermind or the foundational members of this company. And not that I had doubts before at all, but to feel their frequency up against my heart, like any little trick, like little last doubts that I might have had about being in an MLM, just totally dissipated. And Marcus is a galactic angel. That's how I look at Marcus. And I'll say this, it was so cute. The first time I met Marcus, I was at the little VIP dinner, which again made me feel so special. I've never been recognized in that way. And I'm I barely scraped by and got into that, like barely. And I was so nervous when I first met him. Say thank you. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, I'm just saying thank you. We just went back and forth. And then the second night I met him, I was like, Marcus, I don't mean to, bother you, but can I just give you a hug? And he was like, oh, you're not bothering me. And it was like touching base with, eternal love. It was, brought me to tears. I think I'm going to end on that. And oh no, my takeaway for all of you here is to truly trust your path, like trust the way that you want to do things. If you're in this business, if you're not, that's fine too. But if you are doing this, trust all of the timing, trust your pace, trust when you want to pull back, trust when you want to lean in, because that's how you're going to create like something that's worth being a part of, and something that will truly change your life. So that's what I'll end on. Thank you for letting me share. I love you all. You're amazing.
Oh, Jess, thank you. So beautiful. And yes, I wholeheartedly second that last bit, especially to trust yourself and trust your path, and let the map come from the inside, whatever you may be doing. Thank you. All right, I think we just have one more person left to share. Jana, do you want to close it out for us?
Hello. Can you hear me? Oh, can you guys hear me? Hello? Shoot.
We hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay, good.
Wait, we no longer hear you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. It's like the universe is saying, shut up, Gianna, you're talking too much. It's kind of funny. I came here and I actually don't know what I want to say, because I feel like on Monday's call I dropped such a big transmission that, well, at the time it definitely feels like very, very true and very, very important. I feel like part of what it did was diminish other people who their purpose and their path is to talk about the business and the money. And for me, the path for me is very much about the technology and the experience with the technology. But what I really want to share today is that when I was at that conference, and the whole entire thing was, I kept looking back at my friends that I was there with, the people that I was there with, and being like, is this real? Is this really happening? Is this what's being said right now? And my experience was really one of the most synchronistic, heartfelt, soul felt alignment on every single level possible. There's a saying that goes around the world right now, and that's follow the money. And usually it said, follow the money to find out where the corruption is. And with Healy, when you follow the money, it let me settle into such a deep place of trust. Because in this company, when you're following the money, what you find is that the people who are in charge of the money and that are directing the ship, because often when we say follow the money, it's because we want to know who's directing the ship and the way that it's going to be directed. It's pure and it's real and it's honest. And when I think of money from the perspective of astrology, and I think of love, you look for the same cues. You look for Venus. Venus holds the frequency of both love and money and relationship and harmony. And it's about prosperity and it's about wealth. And Venus is also the ruler of Taurus, and Taurus is the earth, and it's our bodies and it's our values. And I think when it really comes down to it, the experience of that alignment for me is really about knowing our values and understanding our embodiment. And when we operate from that, when we operate from our values, when we operate from our embodiment, when we operate in alignment with the earth, when we align with our currency that is really the result of our relationships and our resourcefulness, then the money is a given. And so that's really what I meant, where it's the lowest hanging fruit. On Monday, it was like, there's so much depth to frequency. There's so much depth to what we're doing here. There's so much, like, frequency does not lie. It cannot lie. You cannot emit a frequency and mean something else. No. You can mean something, you can say something and mean something else, but the frequency behind it is going to be telling the truth no matter what. And so we need alignment on all the levels. And that's what I felt when I was at this conference, is that there was alignment on all of the levels. There was the values, there was the mission, there was the purity, there was the heart, there was the relationships, there was the mission of like making this world a better place. There was the alignment of like shared prosperity, and that coming from a holistic experience of living in alignment with your truth and with source and with a deeper guidance that comes from within. And like, if we are, and I think that's like where I dropped that piece from, was like, it's so important that you are leading, that each of us are leading from that fully embodied place, from your own exploration, from your own truth, because this is dharmic work. And the Healy itself will meet you, as we know from the resonance scan. It meets you exactly where you're at. And then it serves you from that place. And so if we start with the question, and I love on Monday's call, Simone said, like, clarify, what's your why? What are you doing here? And what do you want? And like, really, that was the first thing that I journaled as I walked away from that conference. I bought a brand new journal, and the first question was, what do I want? What do I want? And like, there was not a single thing that I want that isn't in alignment with what we can do here. And that feels so special, you know? As a yoga teacher, I've often made decisions about where I teach based off the ethics of the yoga studio. When I buy clothing, I make decisions off of the quality of the company and where they're sourcing their materials and how they're doing it. When I buy food, I'm looking for farmers that are, you know, organic farmers, you know what I mean? Like the alignment. And so it makes it also here in the decision, if I'm going to get behind something, it's because the alignment is there. And when I was at the conference, my jaw continually dropped on the floor because the alignment is so there. It's so pure. And like, I just feel so blessed to be a part of this community and this company where I don't have to put any of my values aside in order to be here. You know, like, that gives me chills. I don't have to put a single one of my values aside. It's easy to be aligned. And then the other thing that I really loved is like, so I got invited to a dinner with just the Canadian crew. We just in Canada got a Canadian, I don't know what her name is exactly, like sales manager, like our Jake, like Jess has Jake in the US. We have, her name's Elisa. And our dinner, our lunch, it was amazing because what I loved about that moment was, here we're kind of like cut from the same cloth, you know, whether we're talking just in Jess's lineage or in Sarah's bigger lineage, like we're all, there's a similarity, although we're all unique, there's a similarity. I sat down for lunch, and next to me was this dude, 82 years old, been in network marketing for 50 some years. Across from me is a woman, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like totally different. And it landed on another layer that Healy really is for everybody, you know, like, it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your mission. It doesn't matter, like, it doesn't matter your intention, but that you're clear with your intention. Like, it really is for everybody. And, you know, on my team with those Spencer, and I forget if somebody can throw in the chat what the other gentleman's name was, but I have my mother who's 70. I have my mother-in-law who's 72. I've got my mom's friends, like, and so we've got this little pocket of like 60 plus on my team who don't necessarily see themselves in these calls all the time. And I was just like, yeah, but we can, this is here, this is here as well, you know? And I think that really solidified or validated that this really does meet us where we're at. And it really is for everybody. And some of the comments that I've seen in the thread lately, like, is the market going to be saturated? And I don't know if anybody else is thinking about that. It's really not. We're somewhere around like 8 billion people on the planet. And what are we at? We're at like 300,000 Healys, I think they said, somewhere around there. Like we're just like a tiny little drop in the bucket of like how many homes this is going to be in. And while we were there, and Jess actually left a note somewhere, some thread somewhere saying this as well, but I had this image where I was holding my Healy in my hand and I looked at it, and in my imagination or in my vision overlaid was a picture of like the first ever iPod. Do y'all remember the first iPod that like had the little tiny screen in the circle and you ran your thumb around the circle and then you push the button in the middle, and like that was amazing. Do you remember how revolutionary that was to have an iPod or like what do you call those things? The little mini disc players. Like that was amazing, shifting from CDs and tapes to this new technology. And I had this image like this is the first of a first wave of personal frequency devices, and the speed at which this is growing. Like, can you imagine where we're going to be with this? And we are babies, with this. And that also was really promising for me because it's the very, very tip of the iceberg, and what's underneath and what's coming is so much more. And if we can have a frequency device that is helping us to attune and align to the language of the universe, right? Like this is what it's doing. And it's aligning us with the level of truth. You've all got the hard truth responses back from your coach, right? So sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't want to see that, right? And it's essentially aligning us all with a greater quality of truth, of synchronicity, of aligning us with nature and aligning us with source. Can you imagine when 1 million people have these things in their homes? The quality of human and the alignment of relationship with both self, community, and source, or all self, community, and source and nature. The kind of world we are going to be living in as we shed these layers of lack, of projection, of carrying things that aren't ours, and really aligning with that source, love, community, relational. I mean, the world, it is legit going to make the world a better place. And we're pioneers in this. We are the forefront. Like it's just, that's what I just keep thinking, like, we're going to look back in 5 years. Just think about this. Who knows what Zoom will look like or what platform? Maybe, I mean, there was one point when Marcus was telling about the science that he's working with. He was talking about the beam. I don't know if people remember this moment, but he was essentially talking about how like particles gather, but then they can disintegrate and then they can gather again. And I think what he was starting to get at was actually like, beam me up, Scotty, like particles gather, we create something out of nothing, we disintegrate those particles, and then we recreate. Like that, I feel like was the tip of that saying, like, can you imagine this kind of technology, this where they're going? We've seen the blueprints. Yeah, holographic meetings. You got it, Sheena. Exactly. Like, what are our meetings going to be like in 2 years, in 5 years? And who are we going to be linking arms with? And like, just, I don't know. I just get so excited about what we're doing and where we're heading. And this is just the beginning. And for us I really think that it's important for us to dedicate some time into understanding the science to understanding the quantum. I think Jess said the other day, Quantum Geek Club, and I was like cheering while I'm listening to the message. Like, if we can understand this, we accelerate it. And we already have a tool that's an accelerant. Anyways, that's enough. I'm going to stop. But thank you all so much. And thank you, Jess, for letting me speak. It's really special what we're doing here.
Thank you, Jenna. It is really special what we're doing here in multiple ways and multiple layers. And we are just at the beginning of all of it. And it's very exciting. It's pretty wild. I'm the last 2 years, I keep saying I've never been so excited to be alive. I don't think I've actually ever been excited to be alive. It's always been like a bit of a struggle. And the last 2 years, genuinely, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is an amazing time to be alive. Like what we get to be here for right now. And so much of that is what I get to experience here with Healy. And the incredible transformations, again, on personal and larger levels. And yes, to, more Healys in more hands because of the beautiful ways that these are transforming how we can show up, vital, thriving, fully expressed. And that's right. Like that's the change that happens, the individual that moves out into the whole. So I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so excited to, for what's coming. And thank you all so much for hopping on today, for letting us share with you. If you have arrived here and you don't have a Healy, you're tuning into this maybe for the first time just to check Healy out. There might be some things that we shared about that don't totally make sense. Please do reach back to whoever invited you here. Ask for more information, ask whatever questions you have. We have tons of resources to send your way. And we do, as a team, offer ongoing calls. So next week, we're going to be having an amazing call. Wednesday, next week, we're going to be having an amazing call. We do monthly, what's called Frequency School, where we dive deeply into learning about Healy specifically. Sometimes it's about frequency. Sometimes it's about the quantum, but all of these aspects that are at play that we really do want to learn in the deeper ways, and I find very fascinating. So next week is Frequency School with a woman named Dr. Michelle Patrick, who is also brilliant, who works deeply with the body and has an incredible depth of knowledge about Healy. So everyone come to that. It's going to be amazing. Whether or not you have a Healy, she drops such wisdom. So you can ask whoever sent you here for that information and link. And I think that's it. Thank you all for just coming and sharing this space. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you again.